All right, guys, time for another kind of psychology, social studies vlog ramble because I like this kind of thing. What I'm about to say might sound potentially kind of racist for some of this stuff, but I just want to let everyone know that it's not racist, it's more stereotyping stuff, right? And stereotyping doesn't inherently have to be negative, although some of this stuff will sound negative, but this is, again, kind of like a psychology thing. So some of the things I might say might potentially come off the wrong way if you don't listen to the whole thing, right? I want to talk about why the stereotypical nerd right now has too much power in society, right? Your stereotypical white or Asian or fat, whatever kind of stereotypical idea of a nerd that we're brought up to think of as a nerd has too much power in society, right? They have too much freedom. And I want to make a comparison of this in terms of between, say, like black culture, right? Because black culture is kind of interesting in that if we were to think from a certain perspective of that now being nerdy is okay or popular in society, right? So if we're to use the analogy that nerds were held down before, let's use the, of course, actual reality for sure, you know, that there is a ton of racism against black people. I mean, black people were fucking slaves, of course. Jesus Christ, right? But unlike nerds, do you ever notice that in society that you actually meet like black dudes or whatever that are trying to be more than the negative stereotype? Do you ever get this vibe from people, right? You'll see like a black dude, meet a random, you know, someone comes up to you, whatever, dude, and you see this vibe that being shitty to other people, this common negative stereotype of black culture of maybe a thug or, you know, some dude doing drugs, a gang member, whatever the fuck is a negative stereotype of a black dude, right? Do you see that this stereotype, do you ever see, you'll meet like a black dude and you see more common that being a dick to other people is not cool? Do you get what I'm saying? Like, because of course some people do try to play it up, right? There's an idea that, you know, some people are like, oh, I'm a thug, blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? I'm so hard, you know, with my guns, whatever. Where the fuck is this negative stereotype? And you see, there's kind of like a trend of, for many years now, that being a dick actually isn't cool, right? Whereas if we look at a lot of nerds, do you see nerds trying to be more than their negative stereotype? How often do you meet a nerdy dude and they're trying to be more than their stereotype, right? I mean, if we're even like, you know, comparing black people to white people per se, how often have we seen during these recent riots, you know, Black Lives Matter, whatever the stuff is called, and a lot of times the most crazy people, the looters of, like, you know, because there's agenda, there's propaganda on both sides. There's fucked up cops and there's fucked up protesters. But how often do we see that there's a lot of, you know, it's a lot of fucking white people are the fucking degenerates, right? During these protests. It's not, now of course, I'm not saying no black dudes have agenda or no black women, whatever you want to, you know, I'm not saying no black people have agendas whatsoever, because of course they do. Like I said, recently, someone tried to start a Black Lives movement on me because I said I like big lips, so I must only fetishize black women. Motherfuckers trying to act like I was a slave trader or some shit because I said I like big lips. You know what I mean? So there are most definitely people with a fucking agenda in the black community as well that are just trying to get any kind of fucking golden star sympathy for whatever, and it's extremely fucking fake as well. But generally speaking, there's a vibe you get when you meet, like, you know, I've actually had like grown ass, you know, just talking with a random black dude, you know, we're just having a conversation, and boy, I'm rambling a lot before I even get into this video game comparison, but I've actually had black dudes, right? And you know, there's this idea of, it's a stereotype, right? But this is a funny one. This is why I'm saying not all stereotypes are necessarily have to be negative, right? Like, you know, there's like a white dude handshake, a gentleman handshake, and then there's like a black dude handshake, right? Whatever, right? And I always get afraid that I'm gonna fuck up the handshake, and it's fun. It's funny because I do have, you know, I'm not down. I never had a past to say anything bad when I was a kid or anything, or even now, you know what I mean? I'm not claiming to be hard, right? Of course, I have black friends, all that kind of stuff. But I always do get nervous when I shake hands because I'm afraid I'm going to fuck it up. And I have had random dudes come up to me and they got their hand cocked like in a weird way. And I'm like, oh my God, how do I approach this handshake? I'm not, I'm going to fuck this one up, right? I had this one friend, dude, you could never fuck up the handshake with him. It was too crisp. He would walk you through. It's like, dude, it's like, Clayton, you can't fuck this up, dude. I got you, dude. You're not going to fuck this one up, right? But let me take a drink of water. But I've met random black dudes, we're just talking, sometimes I go out and I talk to people. And I've had just black dudes come up to me, give me, for better words, like the gentleman, the very white dude handshake. Like I had this one dude, he came up to me and we were just talking, just like shooting the shit. He actually just randomly, hey, what's up, dude? He just started, and then we just kind of like, we just kind of like sat against the wall and we just started, bullshitting with each other, talking about stuff, just random, right? And we went to go shake hands. He was like, hey, nice conversation. You know what I mean? And he went to go shake his hand. And he's like, no, dude. And he looked at my hand like, he's like, dude. And he was just, well, he didn't say dude. I don't remember what he said. He's like, don't worry about it. And he gave me like the white dude handshake. And I don't know why, but sometimes you meet black dudes and they want to be more than the negative stereotype. It's not cool. That stereotypical idea, the negative stereotype. Again, not all stereotypes have to be negative. A stereotype can be good, right? You know what I mean? Just like the word objectify. To objectify someone doesn't have to be bad necessarily. It doesn't have to be good. It just depends on the context, right? But there's a lot of dudes you meet, and it's like you get this feeling that, hey, you know what? It's not cool to say that I came from some terrible place and, oh, I was doing all these shitty things. I'm hard, blah, 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 blah. N-word this, N-word this. That's not cool. You know what I mean? It's like, dude, they want to be more than the negative stereotype. But a lot of times when you meet nerds, or I'm sure we've all seen that classic, that cliche white dude who's acting like he's hard. And it's like, dude, why are you talking about, you rob people and you do all this fucked up shit? Like, that's not cool. But of course, there is a stereotype that some people think that a negative life is cool, right? Quotation marks, right? And they try to pass it off as cool. But you don't really see black dudes doing that. Well, I mean, I'm sure people do, but hopefully they're trying to get away from that stereotype, that that's not cool anymore. But are nerds trying to get away from the stereotype? So, man, this was a long forward. And why does the nerd have too much power in society today, right? So if we're to think about nerds as being held down, and I talk about this when we talk about how it's, more popular, more accepted to be a nerd nowadays, right? So when we grow up, the common idea of a nerd is a nerdy, fat, white dude, pocket protector, or like an Asian dude. And I found out very early when I was a kid growing up that a lot of these nerdy dudes were not very good at games. They were often the worst at games. The math problems didn't solve them. They sucked. And when you would go to these arcades, not all arcades are necessarily in a good area. Some arcades are in a potentially bad area for sure. And I would see these black dudes who was, we do not stereotype in America a black dude as being good at video games. But you would see a lot of these black dudes, destroying these nerds, right? These nerds were fucking nothing. These nerds were getting destroyed, right? So it was, that was kind of a culture shock for me, I guess, from a certain perspective, where I saw that, just because you talk like a nerd doesn't mean you're good, right? And you'd find out that a lot of these, the black dudes, whatever, maybe they didn't want to be part of drugs, violence, whatever. So instead of staying on the streets after school, they went to the arcades and they actually got good at video games. Instead of the nerd who thought that I've been perhaps held down because stereotyping a nerd is not a positive association, right? So maybe they thought that, oh, this is my right to be good at a video game, you know what I mean? But then they saw they're not good. Just because you're a nerd doesn't make you necessarily good, because of course, if we were to broaden our horizons about how the world really works, we see that anyone can be a nerd, right? Being a nerd doesn't make you special. Just like nowadays we have these fake social justice warriors that think they're special because they're gay. Being gay doesn't make you better than somebody. Being a nerd doesn't make you special. Doesn't make you better than someone. Being a transgender doesn't make you shouldn't have a gold star for being transgender. You're not automatically, you were being held down because it wasn't popular to be a nerd before, so now you think you automatically need to be good at video games? No, that's completely fucked up. But society is giving these people too much power, right? I mean, if we look at the fighting game community nowadays, we see all the degenerate stuff going on right now. Who's all the degenerate stuff going on right now? It's a lot of these fat, nerdy as fuck white dudes. These degenerate, some degenerate Asian dude, whatever the fuck. It's these white motherfuckers, these Asian dudes, whatever. These stereotypical nerds are not the ones trying to be better. These stereotypical nerds, and I know some people in my comments say you should be saying a dork because there's a difference between a dork and a geek and a nerd, but I'm saying nerd because it just rolls off the tongue easier. Whatever the case, you see these people, right? And these ones are the degenerates most of the time, right? And it's like, man, this is why your parents told you that being a nerd is not cool. Like, look at you're showing the stereotype that, man, being a nerd, no wonder, dude. And again, this isn't to say, I'm not saying that I'm super down. I don't agree with, all, like I said, there's black dudes with a fucking agenda too. Some of these black, like I said, what happened when I got out of the hospital recently? Getting my tumor checked out. I came home, there's these black dudes, and on Twitter, got hundreds of likes, hundreds of follows, and this N-word, this N-word, this, blah, 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 blah. Oh, Clayton, this N-word, this, blah, blah. This crazy motherfucker, this N, blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? He did all this, he's doing this. And I'm like, dude, I wasn't even fucking home. So, of course, I'm not trying to stick up like all black dudes are innocent. Some of these dudes are fucked up themselves. And now they're trying to fucking play up this Black Lives thing, dude. You know what I mean? So some of these dudes are fucking degenerates themselves, and they definitely have an agenda. But generally speaking, I feel like from black culture, you feel like there's an idea of being more than your negative stereotype. Because being that negative stereotype is not cool anymore. That street cred of, oh, I did this, I'm so hard, blah, blah. This negative stereotype potentially of a black person, that's actually not cool. Being a dick to someone else is not cool. But you see white dudes, whatever, these cliche nerdy white dudes, all the stuff that supposedly isn't cool, these motherfuckers don't care. A lot of these dudes are fucking complete degenerates. You can definitely see this from as well. All these people that are being exposed and everything like that. And I'm like, so are you guys actually going to stick up for me now when all this stuff I showed is true? But it's like, no, because I'm not a stereotypical nerd. Look at how many shares all these other people get when I've showed all the nerd on nerd hate crime, because I did not look like I still don't look like a stereotypical nerd, right? You can see me winning all those tournaments. You can see, so the scars on my body, my medical record, and the community acts like it doesn't happen. I still wake up every day to lies about me, dude, because I have blonde hair and blue eyes, I guess. So, oh man, I can't be actually good at games. I must actually be part of one of the evil ones, quotation marks, right? Do you see how fucked up that is? The nerd right now has way too much power. We've made the nerd, it's so acceptable to be a nerd now, and it's so people have so much freedom to say whatever the fuck they want to say. The nerd has too much power in society right now. We're giving them too much awards. If we even go into something like, not even just video games, but popular nerd culture. If you look at something like, say, anime, video games, look at how anime and video games, a lot of cliche stereotypes in popular media culture was the sort of cliche stereotypical hero. The dude that was just awesome to be awesome. He wanted to better himself, whatever, blah, 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 blah. It was this like whisper of a hero, this unobtainable goal. Like, could you ever be this cool, this much of a good person? But nowadays in anime and video games, the hero is often some dude who is, oh, he's evil. He has a evil side of him. He's not just a good dude. Or the hero is now you. The hero is the person next door. Anybody can be a hero, even if they've never done anything. Have you seen the change in like what is the popular hero in today's culture now? The hero is the everyday man. And that's why I'm saying too many of these nerds, it really goes to show they want an award for doing nothing. Do you get the kind of social aspect and psychology I'm getting at that's going on right now? And again, I use myself as an example because it's so obvious, dude. just for someone like me. You don't see these motherfuckers even with all this proof that happened. Do you see people sharing my story as much? Someone that actually helped the community for free. And man, look at this. Done stuff that no one else has ever done in video games before constantly. And look at the stigma against me in the video game community. But can you imagine if I was a fat nerd or some Asian dude? Do you know how much, or Jesus Christ, if I was a transgender, if I was gay, oh my God, if I was a gay transgender and I was fat, holy fuck. Can you imagine how popular I would be? Especially considering I'm sick and I had all this stuff happen to me. It would be insane. Oh my God, right? So, oh my God, what does that mean? Oh my God, you're pregnant. Oh my God, you know the meme I'm talking about? Anyway, so I hope you get what I'm talking about. The nerd just has way too much power, and it's actually fucked up, dude. You've given people so much power, these fake social justice warriors who are acting like they're automatically special because maybe they're a nerd, when they don't realize that being a nerd doesn't automatically make you special, dude. You need to actually achieve something in life to make you special. And there's just so much propaganda and fake agendas in this community. It just is, it's actually absolutely unfucking believable. But anyway, hopefully you guys get what I was talking about in the end.